I gave her everything. My heart, my future, my entire world. We built a life together, or so I thought. For years, every decision I made, every penny I earned, was for us. I poured my soul into our home, our relationship, believing we were a team, an unbreakable unit destined for a lifetime of happiness. But some destinies are built on lies. The foundation of our life, the one I had so carefully constructed, was about to crack in the most devastating way possible. It started subtly, late night at the office here, a sudden need for space there. The excuses were plausible, but the feeling in my gut told me a different story. The woman I knew, the one whose laughter was my favorite sound, was becoming a stranger. Her phone, once left casually on the counter, was now her constant, guarded companion. The warmth in her eyes was replaced by a distant, distracted coolness. I tried to talk to her, to bridge the growing gap between us, but my questions were met with sighs and accusations of being paranoid. She made me feel like I was the problem, that my insecurity was suffocating her. I almost believed her. The truth, when it finally hit, wasn't a slow burn, it was an explosion. A friend, hesitant and pained, showed me a picture. It was her, my wife, wrapped in the arms of another man. A man I recognized as one of her colleagues. The background was a bar we used to frequent, a place filled with our memories. Seeing them together, so comfortable, so intimate, shattered my world into a million pieces. It wasn't just a moment of weakness. The look on her face was one of pure adoration, a look she hadn't given me in a very long time. In that instant, every late night, every whispered phone call, every lie clicked into place. My love story had become a tragedy, and I was the unsuspecting fool. My first instinct was rage. I wanted to scream, to confront her, to tear down everything we had built just as she had torn down my trust. I imagined flipping tables, exposing her affair to everyone we knew. But as I sat there, the picture burning a hole in my mind, a different feeling began to surface. It was cold, sharp, and intensely focused. My love had been deep and all-encompassing, but the betrayal had flipped a switch. The same energy I had poured into loving her was now being channeled into something else. Revenge. Not a loud, messy revenge, but something calculated, quiet, and utterly devastating. She had played a game with my heart. Now I was going to set the board for a new one, a game where I made all the rules. The first step was to play the part of the oblivious, loving husband. It was the hardest role of my life. I'd come home, kiss her cheek, and ask about her day, all while my stomach churned with disgust. I listened to her complain about work, knowing she was spending her days with him, even bought her flowers, watching her fake a smile of appreciation. Every moment of feigned affection was a piece of my plan falling into place. I needed her to believe everything was normal. I needed her to feel secure in her deception. Her comfort was my greatest weapon. While she was living her double life, I was living one of my own. I started documenting everything. I used software to recover deleted messages from our shared cloud account. The texts were sickeningly sweet, filled with pet names and plans for their future together. They talked about me, about how clueless I was. They mocked my devotion. Each word was another nail in the coffin of the woman I thought I knew. Saved every message, every email, every photo. I became a meticulous archivist of my own heartbreak. The evidence was piling up, a mountain of deceit she had no idea I was building. The next phase required me to become a financial detective. I had always handled our finances, a task she happily offloaded onto me. I started tracing the money. It was surprisingly easy. Credit card statements revealed hotel stays she'd claimed were business trips, expensive dinners for two, at fancy restaurants I'd never been to, and gifts I knew weren't for me. She was using our joint account, the money I worked so hard for, to fund her affair. The sheer audacity was staggering. I carefully moved my own savings into a separate private account. I contacted a lawyer, the best one I could find specializing in divorce, and laid out the entire meticulously documented case. He was impressed, to say the least. He told me the evidence was airtight. The final piece of the puzzle was our home. I had inherited it from my grandparents, but in a gesture of love and commitment, I had put her name on the deed after we got married. A foolish, romantic gesture I now deeply regretted. My lawyer advised me on the legal intricacies. We discovered a loophole, a small clause in the prenuptial agreement she had barely glanced at. An agreement I insisted on not for a lack of love, but as a practicality. It stipulated that in the case of proven infidelity, any assets brought into the marriage would revert to the original owner. She had signed it without a second thought, laughing about how we'd never need it. Oh, the irony. The day I chose for the reveal was our anniversary. It felt poetic. She came home to a candlelit dinner, her favorite meal on the table. She was beaming, thinking I was still the devoted, clueless husband. She talked about our future, about taking a vacation, all while I just smiled and nodded. After dinner, I handed her a beautifully wrapped gift. She opened it excitedly. Inside wasn't jewelry or a sentimental trinket. It was a single manila folder. Her smile vanished as she pulled out the contents. The first things she saw were the photos. Pictures of her and her lover, laughing, kissing, holding hands. Her face went pale. Then she saw the printed text messages, her own words, her own lies, laid out in black and white. Finally, she saw the bank statements, with every secret hotel and dinner highlighted in yellow. The silence in the room was deafening. Her eyes darted from the papers to my face, searching for an explanation, for a way out. But there was none. "Happy anniversary," I said, my voice calm and even. "I believe you know him." The color drained from her face completely. She started to stammer, to deny, but the evidence was overwhelming. The confident, deceitful woman was gone, replaced by a cornered, panicked stranger. How could you?" she whispered, as if I were the one who had committed the betrayal. I just looked at her. The love I once felt replaced by a cold, hollow pity. Then I delivered the final blow. I slid a second folder across the table. This one contained the divorce papers already signed by me, and a legal notice giving her 24 hours to vacate my house. My house. I explained the prenup, the clause she had forgotten. I watched the realization dawn on her face. She was losing everything. Not just me, but the comfortable life she had taken for granted, the life she had betrayed. There were no tears from me, no shouting, just the quiet, methodical dismantling of the world she had tried to destroy. Affair was her choice, but the consequences were mine to deliver. As she finally broke down, sobbing, it wasn't a sound of victory to me. It was the sound of a chapter closing, a painful one, but a necessary one. I had turned my love into a careful revenge, not out of hate, but out of a need to reclaim the life and dignity she tried to steal from me. The next morning, she was gone. And for the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of peace. The storm was over, and I was finally free. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever been through something similar, remember your strength. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.